Alright, so welcome back to another ReactJS tutorial. So in this tutorial, we'll talk about the most fundamental ideas that's built into each React component. Otherwise known as state. So So state. Basically, what state is, it's a way to store property for a component. And then we'll take a look at this in action. So I will link a few resources link down in the description below. Okay, so first thing is we'll talk about how can we handle a user's action. For example, if user click on a button, and after click on button, let's just say let's keep it simple, and then in the console I would like to see a message saying like such as button get clicked. So I'm gonna do that. First what we can do is we can create a function to that, although that's not absolutely necessary, but just in case for the later what we need. It's going to get complicated, and we can just type in this function instead of like changing all over the place. And here, I can just say console.log button get clicked. And now what we need to do is actually create a button. So we can create a button like this button, and in here, I will say click me. Oops, it's supposed to not appear until now. Alright, so now you can see there should be a button that says click me. And then but if I now click, you can see there's no message displayed. The reason is we didn't actually associate this function within the onClick property. You recall the onClick within the HTML element or HTML attribute represents what should happen when this button get clicked. So what we can do here is we can use camel case instead. We need to use camel case instead of all lowercase in pure HTML. Since we're using JSX, we need to use camel case when representing an HTML attribute. And in here, I can just type the function name says log. And if I refresh again, now I can see I see a button, and if I click, you can see I got a console message in here says button get clicked. Okay, so this is like how can we handle some basic like click, right? But now I want to consider a complicated or a more sophisticated example. For example, I'm going to use an example. So many examples. We're going to use an example directly from our React, not our, but from Facebook's React official documentation, which is have a pretty decent documentation and then some examples. So I will use that. So basically, we'll try to create a component that is toggle. What is toggle is you can basically toggle is on or off, like a sort of like a switch. And then here, what we can do is first thing first is we will go ahead and create a new ES6 class, and then we can say class toggle extends react.component. So this is an ES6 way to create a class. And then we also inherit or extend, that what we say in JavaScript, of its parent class from React.components. I'm going to name this toggle. This is a new class we create called toggle. And in here, we'll go ahead first create a constructor property or method. Let me make sure I indented it correctly. And then here, what I will say is, just in case you don't know class, a brief introduction to class, especially the constructor method. This method is like a built-in method, and this method will always execute the first when we use this class. And then here we can say super props, and then here we're actually to specify props here. So props should be the only argument, one and only argument that takes in, as that's how React component specified. And then we also use the super. Basically, that just means, okay, so since we extended from a React.component, what we need to do is let's go ahead and initialize. Let's go ahead and use React.components constructor method, and then use the props. So basically, we need to initialize React.component first, And then what we can do is toggle. So basically, it's just like how we inherit, we extend the class. We're also wasting to use super first. And then here, what we can do is now we can use a state. Recall state is a way to manage different property within a React component. And in here, what I can say is I'll just have a property called is toggle on. And then in this case, it's just going to be true. And then now, what I can say is this line is a little bit cryptic, and I will say handle click. And then here we'll say this dot handle click dot bind this. So what's happening here is we're binding this to the handle click property. So we can use handle this within the handle click property. This is a required step per the as specified in React documentation. And in here now we can create our handle click property. Basically what we're going to do is we'll say this.set state. Basically this is just going to change a state, and I'm gonna put our state in toggle.state here. And then you notice that we didn't actually specify this because it's already knows that we're actually using the state from here. And then here we want to say is toggle on. So recall this is a state that we put in here as an object. So make sure that we are always using an object within the states. That's how we actually manage it. And then it's toggle on. In here, we'll say exclamation mark is toggle on. So what's happening here? Or we actually need to say state here. Oops. So we need to say state dot is toggle on. So what's happening here? Well, happening here is we're resetting, we're set state, we're changing state actually for its toggle on. And then exclamation mark means opposite. So basically, if state dot is toggle on used to be true, then the new is toggle on state, where we're going to change its toggle on state to false, or otherwise. Or for example, if it used to be false, then it's going to change to true. Or if it used to be true, it's going to change it to false. So this is what happened when the user click on the toggle. And now finally, we're just going to have a render method. Recall render methods is required for all React components, so we can know what actually going to happen. So in here, we'll say return. Let's put parenthesis here. Return, and then here we can say button, and then on click. In here, we will say this dot handle click. So basically, what should happen when a user click this? Well, luckily enough, we define a function that exactly does that, called handle click method, and then basically we're just going to put a handle click method here. And then let's go ahead and put it back here. Slash button. Make sure I have a closing tag here, and then yes. But now we have a problem. Is what is existing? Because now if we refresh, oops, we'll change the class to toggle as well. So let's go and refresh. Let's take a look what's our new button looks like. Now I guess it's pretty weird. We don't actually get a button. Right, we don't actually get a button because it's not because we don't have any text within the. Okay, now I have a little button here. We do have a button. Where's the problem? How do we know that is the button already get clicked or not? So is this on or off? Well, here's how we can display this. So we can use curly braces again. We are going to use curly braces whenever we are dealing with JavaScript. Excuse me, and then here we can just say this dot state oops, this dot state dot is toggle on, and then in here what we'll do is we'll use conditional itinerary operator. Okay, we'll take a look of conditional itinerary first. So what is conditional itinerary? Okay, let's see. So I'm actually not used to use the single line, but according to Mozilla documentation, as well known as the official JavaScript documentation, the conditional itinerary operator is the only JavaScript operator that takes 3 operands: a condition followed by a question mark, then expression to execute if the condition is truthsy, followed by a colon, and finally the expression to execute if it's falsy. So what's that mean? Well, in here, first what we need to do is we need to put a question mark, first of all. Put a question mark. And then here, what should happen if this dot state dot is toggle on is truthsy? Otherwise, is this dot state dot is toggle on is true. Then what we want to display is probably we can say on, right? On. Or otherwise, if it's not on, or means this dot state dot is toggle on is false. Then what we want to say is off instead. Let me add a space here really quick. So this is like a single line operand, single line JavaScript condition. So now let's try again. Let's take a look. What's happening now? Let's take a look. And now you can see right now it's on because when it's get initialized, it's toggle on, it's true. But if I click it, let's see, is there anything wrong with this? Let's see. It's supposed to, let's see. Okay. I think below the documentation here exactly to bind it correctly. Yes, we bind it correctly, and I'll click. Okay, so sorry about that. My computer just froze for some reason. Let's try again. I think it's all good, but I don't know why the screen think don't know it. So it should be some on click. Okay, let's do some debugging here. Let's take a look in the console state. Take a look. Come on. True. Okay. Okay, so that means it didn't change correctly. Let's toggle on. Well, that's weird. Okay, I think I forgot a parenthesis here, but I'm not sure would that do anything here. I'm still a little bit rusty about my React. I literally learned React just because for this tutorial's sake. Let's take a look again, see what this parenthesis change anything. I don't know what's a parenthesis for. Okay, on. Now it is off. I don't know why we need a parenthesis here for some reason. Yeah, arrow function. Okay, probably takes an argument actually. It takes I know why. Now, okay, so probably just reset the whole state. Okay, so we actually need to take an argument here. Okay, that's why. So this is new object that the state is. Okay, that's why. Okay, see, when I record this tutorial, I can also learn something from it, which I actually hope we all learn something from it. And we see now it's on off on off on off. Okay, let's see. Anything else is important we need to cover? I don't think so. I think that's all I want to talk about always in this tutorial. So this tutorial is not really long. React tutorial is not really long, which is pretty good compared to my last tutorial. So just a quick recap what we did. We talked about how can we handle click in JSX using onClick with a button specifically. Then we talk about ES6 class and its states. We'll also see how can we handle click. And I'll also talk about itinerary operator. I will leave the resources link into the description below if you want to learn more on the concepts. And I also have a Discord server now, so if you want to join, feel free. I will leave that into the description below as well. If you donate me, feel free to support this channel. Thank you very much for watching this. You could also, I will leave like all the link into the description below. Okay, finally, I hope you guys all staying safe, stay healthy. Finally, have a nice day. Thanks for watching.